Alright, want to take a moment here to look at some medieval European architecture and just look at some trends that we can see emerge with this type of architecture. So during the early portions of the Middle Ages, I'll move this around, we still see Romanesque types of cathedrals. And I'm going to see a big focus on cathedrals for the Middle Ages because the role of the Catholic Church and influencing Western Europe is huge. It's like the one unifying force throughout Europe at this time. And it begins with, again, Romanesque cathedrals, which we see, we'll show some pictures, but rounded arches, also seen as being barrel vaults, thicker walls, and there are simple interiors that are just, geometric shapes that are basic, nothing fancy. It is taking all the glory from Rome and its beautiful architecture and just pushing that away for just fundamental needs. This is the simple shape, this is what we need. If you think about it, it makes sense. During the Dark Ages, the lower Dark Ages or Middle Ages, Europe's just trying to survive. It's a kind of a miserable place to live, and so you don't really see a lot of these embellishments and designs and architecture until later on during the High Middle Ages. So it makes sense that they'd have simple types of architecture with these basic features. We'll look at some pictures. Small windows too, usually top of a wall. So very basic, large space, simple quarters to side, but no very detailed designs. It's just kind of meant to be a building where worship can happen and nothing more, which makes sense. It's about survival at this time, very practical rather than embellishing the greater designs. Here's an interior for you. You can see the rounded arches in the top, the barrel vaulted hallways. I mean, it's very small too. It's very, not small. You can see the guy there, but you can see that part of the design, there's not it gets to the top and then it kind of levels off. So it's a rounded arch, and this the overall shape of it, like a rounded cornered rectangle. That's the barrel vault as well. So there's the interior of a Romanesque cathedral. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's very simple. The windows are much smaller. They're higher up, so you really can't see outside. They're just there to get light in during the day. We see a massive shift, though, during the High Middle Ages. So once Europe starts interacting with its neighboring regions, it starts bringing in new trade and more prosperity economically occurs. We see this reflected in more intricate designs for its architecture and more impressive designs too. So Gothic is typically this type of design. So when we get to the High Middle Ages, we start to see Gothic architecture emerge. Different layers to it. Might look like it's just a shape, but there are separate rooms, separate quarters altogether. It's multi-layered. There's a lot more going on to the design of a Gothic cathedral. Here's the Cathedral of Canterbury, England. Gives you an idea. You can see the floor plan there. But what are the different traits? When you see cathedrals, I want you to notice pointed arches rather than a rounded arch. This creation known as the flying buttresses, which we'll look at. Stained glass windows emerge, larger windows that can then show off the stained glass, so more of emphasis on this design. The insides of the building, rather than being very basic and simple like our last Romanesque one, are now elaborate. And the actual construction of the building is taller, at least portions of the building are taller. There's more open space, which is there for, when you have a larger wall, you can have a larger window, which brings in more light. And we see more art put in there as well. We see the kind of the humanist desires of ancient Greeks and Romans and their sculptures and their paintings, which faded away during the Dark Ages because people are just trying to survive, and embellishing the body was looked down upon because it was seen as being sinful at a time when the church had a lot of authority and was preaching modesty, and it's also you didn't have time to wonder about the beauty of things because you're just trying to survive and not get sick or die. So once the Low Middle Ages passes, the High Middle Ages comes in, and we can have time for more lavish sculptures and architectural designs. So here's the interior of a Gothic cathedral. You can see, can't really see here, but you can see the pointed arches for sure. More open space. If you see the whole building, whole room, you can see perfect. Nice, tall sides, more space, airier, dare I say, it's the term I was using in the previous slide. Larger windows to bring more light in. We can see stained glass windows here, appreciating the designs of it. Just the actual designs of the building itself, these pillars here, bringing back the pillars, have intricate designs. You could just have a simple rectangle or square column or pillar around one. No, this design is put in there purposefully. These would be the flying buttresses. They are, it's this guy right here, kind of drops down. This diagonal slope, which then attaches to a tower. Okay, we can see it's kind of, this is a good example here. These are all of them here, they kind of go around, but sloping piece of architecture here, which attaches to a smaller tower compared to the rest of the building. You can see how much taller the building is too, a much more open area space. Flying buttress from a design blueprint point of view. Here it is from the side. You can see the sloping here, the sloping angle, the intricate designs which are being embraced again rather than just simple designs now that we're in the high Middle Ages, and then these tall towers that kind of connect it all together. Filigrees are, if you look at they're the intricate designs. It's often like wiry or thin, usually it's metal, but it can also just be with sculpture, thin pieces of some type of structure that are designed intricately. This isn't a great example. I'll try and find one for class, but if you look at just all the kind of tiny lines, like right here, that go into this building, that's an example of a filigree where it's this really nuanced design. In Chartres, we see pillars, but it's more than just the pillars, it is the detail. You wouldn't find this in early Romanesque or low Middle Age architecture. You find the detail for people and just for all the different parts of the cathedral. More time was put in, and it's something when you get closer you can see the beauty of it, but it's something that's a different trend, going from simple architecture to more distinguished architecture. We see gargoyles emerge. Instead of having just a simple water spout where water can kind of pour away, why not turn that water spout into a monster or an angel or some type of intricate design? So these emerged, again, emphasizing the details in the buildings. Stained glass windows are created, bringing light and the glory of God and architecture, as well as religious instructions on there, or telling religious stories in Christianity, or showing specific important events from the Bible. These are placed onto stained glass windows. They're there for their beauty. They're also there for their spiritual practice purposes. Notre Dame is probably one of the most famous cathedrals in the world. That's got examples of all these things we talked about for Gothic cathedrals. It is located in Paris, and it is an incredibly famous cathedral. Rose windows are circular stained glass windows that have symmetry and also pieces that kind of blend together to form a design and a balance. So instead of having one continuous image, you have several different pieces of different stories from the Bible here, and they blend together to form a bigger image, this round image, but they're separate pieces. Examples of other types of designs you could find in other religions or just around the world that are this sort of rose window, this round circular image that has intricate designs and pieces that bring the whole round image together. Chartres, very important cathedral. It's all the different types of stained glass windows that are in this cathedral and how they all work together to form a singular image. Looking at this picture, can you tell which one of these is Gothic or Romanesque? Look at the types of pillars, the detail. Look at the type of vaulted ceilings, the arches that are there. Can you tell which is which? The one over here would be Romanesque, and the one to your right, Gothic. Looking at the vaulted ceilings, you can see that one is much higher than the other. You can see that there's more, maybe not necessarily more detail, but you can see that it's higher, more intricate. Which one is which? Looking at the two buildings, the overall height of the building, the detail of the stained glass windows, hard to tell the intricate designs from inside, but looking at them side by side, which one would be Gothic, which one would be Romanesque? And we also are seeing fortresses emerge, castles, which would be a practice we see a lot from the Lombards, not the Lombards, my mistake, the Normans, who then bring it to England, and castles are created as kind of these political centers as well as Christian worship centers, fortified walls. You could have tiny little communities inside the castles that function independently from an outside community, and are usually large buildings that are heavily fortified. Different components of a castle, medieval castle, these sprout up throughout Western Europe and are distinct architectural design in Western Europe, and are still there today. Within the castle, you can have areas for growth and crop growth. You have a keep for storing good and living. You have turrets and towers for protection and guards. You often see drawbridges, moats for protection. Very distinct style. European. You think castles, think European. Castles emerged throughout Western Europe. Notice Christian art emerging in different types of goods and simple like cups, chalices, as well as chests. We see Christian art emerge and become common. Tapestries, distinctive style and intricate design. Illuminated manuscripts, so a beautiful painting, an image of a story, and then the description of it. Details emphasized there. So telling of an important act or deed with an image to go along with it. Print becomes more present. Embroidery used to make these tapestries. This might look like very fancy art, but this is woven into a piece of cloth, which makes it that much more impressive because that was done with thread and needle, not with a pencil or a pen. As we get further into late medieval art, we see greater emphasis on detail and then a closer connection to the Roman Catholic Church still, and the emphasis of the Roman Catholic Church. Religion is consistently being designed and used for art and art creations. Emphasis on the crucifixion. Again, Christian society, this major event in Christianity, Jesus Christ being crucified, often depicted in Western Europe. All right, this in time.